What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give our takes on professional wrestling. There was a lot going into tonight's go home episode of AEW Dynamite before we get the Dynasty on Sunday. There was a lot of things going into tonight. Number one, it was announced during the day that Kyle Fletcher had suffered a meniscus tear. I don't know when that happened. Must have happened on Collision or another episode of Collision. Um, but he has a meniscus tear. He's going to be out for months. The TNT Championship has been vacated. Tony Khan announced before Dynamite. And now we are going to have a casino gauntlet at Dynasty to crown a new TNT champion. So that is a big deal. Chris Jericho, we had the return of Chris Jericho last week at AEW. He was going to speak out about why he decided to return to AEW, and we got his first official feud tonight, and Jericho is going to be wrestling Sunday night at the pay-per-view. And then also, finally, to end off the show, Warner Bros. Was like, you know what? You guys ended at 10 o'clock last week. This week, you guys ain't ending until past 10:25 because MJF and Kenny Omega, they had to sell their championship main event for the pay-per-view on Sunday night, and that segment was incredible. Kenny Omega outsmarted the heel, cut what I would say is his best babyface promo he's ever done. He's cut some really good heel promos, but as far as babyface promos goes, that was probably the best Kenny Omega heel babyface promo I've ever heard. That was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. And I have no idea who's winning that match on Sunday. And you know what? When you go into a pay-per-view and you don't know who's winning, that's a great thing. That is a great thing going into the pay-per-view. So, we will go over everything that happened tonight. Very good show, by the way. Very good show overall. They were still in Canada tonight, live from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. They were in Connor McDavid territory, home of the Edmonton Oilers, and this was the go-home show of AEW Dynasty. So, of course, I am Joseph Conlon. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight. We have a lot to talk about, and this is going to be the first of many videos this week, actually. I started making baseball content for the Phillies on Monday. I did my first video of the entire season, and it's something new that I want to bring to the channel a little bit outside of professional wrestling during the spring and summer months. So we're going to be doing that once a week here on the channel. But as far as this week's goes, tonight, you guys are watching it now. We have AEW Dynamite review. Tomorrow night, I don't know when I'll post it, but tomorrow night, we'll do a little predictions video for the pay-per-view coming up on Sunday night, right? We have 8 matches. And once I'm done reviewing the show, we'll go over the entire card. And then we have SmackDown on Friday, more Pat McAfee. Oh joy. Oh joy. And then Sunday, we will have the double whammy. We will have a Phillies recap video for the week. And then, if we're being more specific, I would say into the wee hours of Monday morning, we'll be doing our Dynasty review. I would guess that like the show would be over by like midnight. So midnight we'll be doing our review, which is technically Monday morning. So um, subscribe, man, because we have a lot of good content coming up this week here on the Big Fight Field channel. So, let me take a sip of my drink right here. Okay, so, like I said, we had Dynamite tonight, live from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Okay, um, we had Dynamite from Edmonton, and they kick off the show with a brawl in the parking lot between the Death Riders and Will Ospreay. It started out with excuse me. It started out with Ospreay and John Moxley, and it ended up being a 6-on-1 brawl because Yuta and Claudio and Pac, all those guys got involved. And then a card popped up. A card popped up out of nowhere, and it was the United Empire. Now, Alex Windsor was in there, so I knew who that was, but please forgive me, because once these guys came out of the car, I didn't know who they were at first, because I know they're from New Japan. I saw a segment online with these guys. Will Ospreay was in Japan this weekend, asking these guys for backup against the Death Riders, and I had no idea who they are. I had to learn their names. I knew who Hinare was. That's the only one I knew was Hinare. I didn't know the other two. One of the guys is the heavyweight champion. So Colin Newman, Hinare, and I think the other one was Francisco Akira or something like that. So we had a big, massive brawl, and these guys were in shirts and ties, untying the tie, and they had a brawl from the parking lot all the way out to the ring. Ospreay got a microphone saying that last week you told me not to be stupid. Don't make it personal. Don't go into this 6-on-1. So what did I do? I went to Japan. I talked to a couple friends from United Empire, and I got them down here to Canada tonight. Because on Sunday, it's going to be me and you one-on-one. But for tonight, why don't we just get the whole band together? Your group of guys versus my group of guys, and we have chaos in Canada. So that was literally the main event. That was the title of the main event, which is basically a multi-person man, anything goes match. United Empire versus the Death Riders. So that was the main event tonight. Then they cut backstage to Don Callis. And Don Callis talks about how dreadful and unfortunate it is that Kyle Fletcher has to relinquish the TNT Championship. He has suffered a torn meniscus, and he's going to be out for a numerous amount of months. My heart breaks for him, man. Seriously. He had a breakout year in 2025. The series with Mark Briscoe, the trilogy with Will Ospreay in the beginning of the year, Um, he was going to win the TNT Championship at All In. He ended up winning it a couple weeks later, but he was TNT champion. He wrestled for the world title, Hangman Adam Page, in the main event of All Out. Kyle Fletcher had a incredible 2025, and it was only going to get better in 2026. And he had that classic of a match in the beginning of the year with Tommaso Ciampa, which is such a shame because now that he's injured and Ciampa's like in the mid, like he was in the mid card when he came, but he wasn't on as on fire as now than he was when he first came in. But that match was such an incredible match. I would still say possibly one of the best TV matches of the entire year so far. And nobody's going to remember that match. Nobody will remember that. And now he's got this meniscus tear. He's more than likely not going to be an All In this summer, which is a damn shame. And, you know, it just sucks. And you feel for him a little bit. And I hope maybe he does have a miracle and he can make it back by August 30th and that Wembley Stadium show. But meniscus tears are tough, man. And my thoughts go out to Kyle Fletcher for a speedy recovery. But in the meantime, Callis transitions over to Andrade and Darby Allin and their match at Dynasty. And then, which is essentially a number one contender match. And then he says he had a big plan for Dynasty that he's going to reveal later. Initially, he had worked Proto Okada, which is Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada, going up against the Young Bucks and making a statement at the pay-per-view. But he has got something else in mind that he's going to tell us later on. So, we go to the ring, and we have a six-man tag. We have Mark Davis, Andrade, and Konosuke Takeshita against Bandito, which it was going to be Brody King, but Brody King couldn't get there tonight because he had a friend's funeral, so best wishes for Brody King. So we had Bandito, Jack Perry, and Darby Allin. So, very good lineup right there. And this was a very fun six-man tag match, which was starting with Andrade and Darby Allin. And Andrade tagged in Takeshita, and Andrade just left. So, the baby faces are cleaning house. Coffin drops to Takeshita. Bandito takes out Mark Davis. Darby Allin goes for the microphone. He said, "Hey Andrade, instead of running away like a coward and being Don Callis' little bitch, why don't you get down this ring right now and fight me? You're one of the best in the world. Why don't you get down here right now and fight me?" So Andrade comes back into this match, and Takeshita attacks him from behind, and he hits him with two rolling German suplex on the outside, on the stage. So later on, Jack Perry hits a moonsault to Davis and Takeshita. In the ring, Jack Perry throws back Takeshita. Perry goes off the top rope. Takeshita just hits him with a forearm. In the ring, Bandito has Takeshita in a long press, and he slams him right onto Mark Davis. Darby, a suicide dive to Andrade, and he tries to get right in the face of Don Callis. Davis then starts beating the shit out of Darby Allin, and literally, you have Davis on one side, Takeshita on the other side. They swing Darby back and forth, and they launch him over the timekeeper area. So that takes him out for the match. They take out Bandito, and it's 3-on-1 where Andrade gets the hammerlock DDT onto Jack Perry, and Andrade wins the match for the Don Callis family. And these guys are still going after Jack Perry after the match. So now the Young Bucks come out. And there's a lot of people coming out now. Young Bucks, they take out Clone. They take out Hechicero. Lance Archer is standing there for support. They hit a EVP trigger onto Mark Davis. Then the Rascals get involved. They take out Okada, El Clone, and Hechicero. They announce Myron Reed has a international title match against Okada Saturday on Collision. And the Bucks go for the Meltzer driver on Takeshita. But who's there to make the save but Okada? Okada makes the save for his arch nemesis, and it looks like they're working together for a little bit, stomping away on the Young Bucks. Okada with Nick, Takeshita with Matt, but then they get in each other's face. They push each other, and Takeshita hits the first elbow. This crowd erupts, and this is nothing. The family had to come in and kind of separate them, but this is nothing. When we get these two in an actual match, it is going to blow the roof off that building. And later on, we have the Don Callis family backstage. Callis puts over Andrade and that he is going to beat Darby Allin this Sunday at Dynasty. And they really wanted you to know on commentary during the match that, hey, they said it multiple times too. If Darby Allin beats Andrade Sunday, Darby Allin gets the next shot at the AEW World Championship. If Darby Allin beats Andrade this Sunday, Darby Allin gets the next shot at the AEW World Championship. They were really trying to get that in your head throughout this match. So that tells me it could be foreshadowing that Darby is going to be the next number one contender. We'll talk more about that tomorrow night. So Callis is backstage. He talks about that match. But then he says the big plan. He says, we're all in here to do it for Kyle. Kyle is laying in a hospital bed right now with wrapped boot around his foot. And we don't know when he's going to be back. So this family has to be glued together. And I've got the perfect plan B. Because it was supposed to be Proto-Okada versus the Young Bucks. But instead, it's now going to be the Young Bucks versus Okada and Takeshita. And Takeshita's telling him, no, I'm not doing that. No. I'm not teaming up with Okada. Okada is sitting there smiling, fucking literally being an evil prick and smiling at Takeshita. He's like, that title is mine. I want the title that Okada's holding on his shoulders. He says, you know what? And I want you guys to beat the Young Bucks on Sunday. We need to make a statement to the Young Bucks. So, you know what? Fine. If you guys can work together and get on the same page, you get your match for the International Championship with Okada at Double or Nothing. So finally, this match will be about 9 months in the making. Okada, Takeshita. They're going to face the Young Bucks on Sunday. That's going to be a great match on its own right. But then we get to Double or Nothing, and you're going to put them in the ring together. Oh, man. Louis Armstrong Stadium is going to go insane at Double or Nothing. Insane. So that's a little bit down the road. But Sunday, we officially have the Young Bucks going up against Okada and Takeshita. Queen Aminata challenging Willow Nightingale for the TBS Championship. Nightingale just beat Hikaru Shida, I think it was, Thursday night on Collision. So now this is another title defense for her. They lose the Tag Team Championships at Revolution. They lose the rematch a couple weeks ago, and now Willow is just focusing on the TBS Championship. No more Babes of Wrath with Harley Cameron. This match was fine. It was okay for what it was. This is just Willow racking up wins, and I'm cool with it. She's going to have that title for a little bit longer. It was fine. It was a fine match. Okay, then we get to Jericho. And Jericho comes out, and he talks about how his entire career he's taken risks. He's taken risks, and most of the time it's paid off. There's some risks he takes, and it doesn't pay off. But that's okay, because that's all part of wrestling. He said years ago, I took a chance on this company. I took a chance on AEW, starting from the bottom, and now I came back because I want to help it grow more. I'm so proud of what this company has made to become and what they are right now. And I just want to be here for the entirety of it, to go as long as I possibly can. And he took a risk in 2019, and he's going to take a risk once again on AEW by signing a new contract. And then he goes to sign the contract, and he's interrupted by Ricochet. And Ricochet, he's like, I'm not doing this out to come out here and fight you, but I'm coming out here to do this to protect you. We're not going to fight you, because if we were going to fight you, I would have had Khan drop you already. But that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is I'm going to be honest with you. And Ricochet said, I believe I, amongst all people, could speak for everybody here when I say, nobody wants you here, dog. And Ricochet gets all serious, and he takes his hat off. And Jericho says, you really are really bald. Do you know that, right? And the crowd erupts in bald chants. And Ricochet, he's getting sensitive because of his bald head. And he says, you know what? I took into consideration, like, what you just said. And Ricochet, I don't give a shit what you have to say. So Jericho, he signs the contract. And this was the best part. He says, I signed a contract with AEW But in this contract, I have an open clause that I could pick anybody that I want to wrestle at Dynasty. I could pick your goons right here. I could pick the guy selling popcorn in row 14. I could pick the guy saying, "Sing Judas with me," in the first level. I could pick my nephew sitting in the front row right there. Or I can pick you. Because you know what happens when someone says nobody wants Chris Jericho here, and he pulls off the contract, and the clipboard says, "The list of Jericho." And he says, you know what happens when people say that nobody wants Chris Jericho around in AEW? And he takes the pen, and he clicks the pen. He goes, "Ricochet, you just made the list." And that brought back so much nostalgia from 10 years ago in WWE. I'm not going to lie, man. That made the entire segment for me. That was really good. That was a really good segment. And I dig. I dig this being Jericho's first feud. Jericho, it gets him on the pay-per-view. Yeah, but it also makes sense why he's wrestling on this show, because Jericho's last match, and I was there for it, Jericho's last match in AEW was at Dynasty. And he's now back, and a year later, he's going to wrestle at Dynasty. So we haven't seen Jericho wrestle in a ring since Dynasty of 2025. And now he's back at Dynasty of 2026. So I think this could be a good match for Jericho. Ricochet is great in the ring. And, this is also a big spot for Ricochet, too, to get him on the match with, to get him a pay-per-view match with Chris Jericho. I think that's a pretty solid spot for Ricochet, if you ask me. Now, how I would book it and how I would go about things, I don't really know yet. Ricochet hasn't really been booked as a guy that like AEW needs to protect. But I think it could go either way. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow night. But I really like, if this is going to be Jericho's first feud back, I like it. I like it. Let's see. Tommaso Ciampa and Mascara Dorada. The winner got the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet on Sunday. Pretty decent match. It was okay. It was fine. Some good back and forth. Tommaso Ciampa ended up winning the match, so Tommaso Ciampa is the number one entrant in the TNT Championship Gauntlet match. Let me actually look up if they have announced any more participants. I don't think they have. I know they announced Roosh versus Anthony Bowens for the number 2 spot, but that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. We have Cope and Christian come out for a... they have Cope and Christian come out for a promo on FTR. Christian talks about FTR's moms, making it personal. FTR comes out to massive boos. Christian also says that, congratulations, you've managed to get the entire country of Canada to hate you guys in a span of 2 weeks, which is very impressive. But if you thought the last 2 weeks was bad, wait till you get to Vancouver on Sunday. So FTR then comes out to massive boos, and Cope and Christian get attacked behind by Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero. Now, if you guys are questioning why these two guys decided to attack Cope and Christian, it's because last week Cope and Christian went into FTR's locker room and those two guys were sitting there. Like, they were sitting in FTR's locker room, and Cope and Christian said, anybody that gets in our way, we're going to take them out. Excuse me. And that's exactly what they did. They took out Trent and Rocky. Now this week, Trent and Rocky take out Cope and Christian with FTR. And they even go as far as Rocky hitting a knee strike onto Cope with a steel chair. And then they have a steel chair wrapped around Christian's wrist. And Cash Wheeler comes off the second rope and stomps it down onto Christian Cage's wrist. Christian screaming of pain. And the heels stand tall on the go-home segment for this tag team title match at Dynasty. Then we get the Chaos in Canada. We have Jon Moxley, Claudio, Pac, and Daniel Garcia against Will Ospreay, Colm Newman, Harare, and Francisco Akira. And I thought this was a fun match. I did think it was fun, but it was also way too long. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, it's over now. It's over now. This has to be the finish. And it just felt like watching this match, they just kept going and going and going and going. And they did a lot of table spots, which that's fine. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, a WWE no disqualification match where they do a lot of table spots. They do a couple steel chair spots. And, it's fun. But at the same time, it just went on for way too long. And we got to a result where Will Ospreay hit a hidden blade to Jon Moxley, which put him through a table. Newman hit a coup de grace off the top rope, and both guys pinned Jon Moxley. So, that could indicate that Ospreay's not winning the Continental Championship on Sunday. And if that's the case, that's a good thing. That is a really good thing. And I'll talk about that tomorrow night. But we got our main event angle. We've got Kenny Omega. Excuse me. We got Kenny Omega coming out. And he talks about what MJF said last week. What really pissed him off? He said, was it him talking about his best friend Kota Ibushi? No. Everybody's talked bad about Ibushi to him in the past. Don Callis, Okada. Heck, even my own friends, the Young Bucks, they've took a dig at Ibushi. That doesn't bother me. Was it my diverticulitis that commentary brings up every single week to try to get people to feel bad for me? No. Nobody should feel bad for Kenny Omega anymore. He's 100% and he's in the best shape of his life. What really got under him was how this company was designed for the best people to wrestle in this company, to get the best wrestlers in the world. And there was a time where I was considered the best. And what really got under my skin was you saying that I can't do it anymore like I did all those years ago. I did it in Japan. Best Bout Machine. The Belt Collector 5 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida. The Cleaner, wiping people clean with V-triggers every single week. I could still be that version of Kenny Omega. And you know what they say, Max? They know me. I want these people, I want the men in the locker room, when I'm all and done, I want them to know me as the god of professional wrestling, right? And that's what they've titled this match to be. The God versus the Devil. And I am the god of professional wrestling. And it's time for me to prove that to myself one more time. And I'm going to do that. Because they know me for being the god of professional wrestling. You know how people know you, Max? Your mouth. You flap your gums. You flap your lips. You talk all the time. You have big talk. That's what they know you for. But you know the phrase, anything you can do, I can do better. Except you can't do what I did. You can't put on the amount of best bouts that I did in Japan. You could never be a belt collector like I was 5 years ago in Jacksonville during the pandemic. You could never be the god of professional wrestling. Because you, as the AEW World Champion, you ruin the integrity of AEW. You ruin the catchphrase of where the best wrestle, where we try to get the best wrestlers to come into AEW. They're not going to want to come here with MJF as the AEW World Champion. They're going to want to come in when the god of professional wrestling is the World Champion, and they're going to want to take away the title from Kenny Omega. And he says his final message to Kenny Omega: I will start to right the wrongs that you have committed in this company. And this brings out MJF. And MJF's cutting a promo. He's like real cute. So people don't want to come here because I'm the world champion. That's a good thing. Because people should be scared of me. People should be scared of what I'm capable of doing. People should be scared that anytime they get in the ring with the devil, they know they don't got a shot. So this wasn't his best heel promo, but again, he was being a cocky prick, a cocky asshole. And Kenny says, well, this is the final time we're going to see each other professionally before Sunday. And I could tell you that title means a lot to you. And you want to show the best class that you can with that title. So why don't you go ahead and shake my hand? So Kenny goes ahead and he offers a handshake to MJF. MJF walks away. He comes back, tries to clothesline Kenny. Kenny hits him with a V-trigger. MJF falls. And Kenny then outsmarted MJF in this segment, which was so beautiful because most of the time, right? If you watch WWE, their baby faces looks like complete dumbasses every single week. They make their baby faces look dumb, especially if you watch SmackDown. But this is now 2 weeks in a row where AEW has made baby faces look really smart. Last week it was Will Ospreay against the Death Riders. This week it was Kenny Omega against MJF. And Kenny Omega ends off this segment by saying, "At the end of the pay-per-view on Sunday night, we're not going to be hearing about how much better you are and how we should know it. It will be me bidding the crowd adieu with a goodbye and a good night bang." Incredible segment to end Dynamite. That is how you sell a world title match on pay-per-view. Kenny Omega, MJF, incredible job getting that build over the last 2 weeks. And I am just I'm ecstatic to watch this match on Sunday. I literally cannot wait. That is the match I'm looking forward to the most. At the pay-per-view on Sunday night. So, speaking of the pay-per-view, before we get out of here tonight, we will go over the pay-per-view card so far for Dynasty. We have 8 matches confirmed for the main card. I'm not counting 0 Hour. We have a tag team match with the Young Bucks going up against Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada. Chris Jericho 1-on-1 against Ricochet. Darby Allin 1-on-1 against Andrade El Idolo, where if Darby Allin wins, he's the number 1 contender for the AEW World Championship. He gets the next shot at the AEW World title. We have a Casino Gauntlet match for the TNT Championship. Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley for the AEW Continental Championship. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Jamie Hayter challenging Tekla for the AEW Women's Championship. And the AEW World Championship, Kenny Omega challenging MJF. So they could add more matches on Collision Saturday night. We will see. But what I do know is we will be stopping by for a little bit of time tomorrow night here on the Big Fight Fuel channel to do some preview and predictions for the AEW Dynasty card on Sunday night. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Subscribe, comment down below, hit the like button if you like what you heard from me, and follow me on Twitter and TikTok, Conlon_Joseph, and I will see you guys tomorrow night for some AEW Dynasty predictions. Peace.